The night was cold. Heavy rain washed the streets and thunder rolled above the city. Inside a big mansion, golden lights shone through tall glass windows, but behind those lights, pain lived. Alexander Knight, a young and powerful CEO, stood near the window. His jaw was tight, his eyes full of anger. Papers were crushed in his hand. They were medical reports. The words written on them had broken his heart, or at least, that's what he told himself. Across the room stood his wife Alina. Her eyes were red from crying, her body shaking. "Alex," she whispered, "please don't do this. It's not my fault." The doctor said, but Alexander cut her off, his voice like ice. "Enough, Alina. The reports are clear. You can't give me a child. My family name ends with me because of you." Her lips trembled. She took a slow step toward him. "There are other ways, Alex. We can try again. Maybe there's a mistake." From the corner, Alexander's mother, Madam Knight, smirked cruelly. "Mistake? The only mistake was letting you into this house," she said sharply. "A Barren woman doesn't belong in the Knight family." Elena's heart broke again. She turned to Alexander, hoping for support, but he looked away. Rain hit the glass harder now. "Alex, I love you," she cried softly. "We can still be happy. I'll do anything. Just don't send me away." Alexander's voice rose. "Love? What is love without an heir, Alina? You have failed me." Her tears fell like the rain outside. For years, she had stood by his side, through his struggles, through his rise to success. She believed their love was stronger than everything. But now, all she saw in his eyes was hate. She fell to her knees, begging, "Please, Alex, don't throw me away like this. I have nowhere to go." Madam Knight turned away with disgust. "Send her back where she came from. We'll find someone better for you." Alexander's silence was louder than his words. He dropped the medical papers on the floor and walked past Alina. His cologne mixed with the scent of rain and tears. Without looking back, he said in a low, final voice, "Leave before morning." "I don't want to see you again." Alina sat frozen. The papers lay scattered around her. "Barren," they said, but she knew deep inside something was wrong. The doctor's face had looked strange that day, almost guilty. But who would believe her now? She picked up the papers slowly, pressed them to her chest, and whispered to herself, "If this is what you want, Alex, I'll go. But one day you'll know the truth." Lightning flashed across the sky as she opened the mansion door. The cold wind hit her face. Her bare feet touched the wet ground. She didn't take anything. No money, no clothes, no jewelry. Only her broken heart. The night swallowed her whole. Morning came. Alexander sat in his office, trying to focus on work, but something felt missing. Her perfume, her soft laughter, the warmth in the house, all gone. Still, pride kept him from turning back. He told himself it was for the best. Madam Knight entered and smiled with satisfaction. "You did the right thing, my son. Now, your life can move forward." But Alexander didn't answer. He looked at the rain outside and felt a strange emptiness inside his chest. 10 years later, a black car stopped in front of the same city. The door opened, and a woman stepped out, dressed in elegant clothes, eyes full of strength. 3 little children ran beside her, laughing. She looked up at the shining company logo, Knight Enterprises. "It's time," she whispered. The wind carried her words away, but her heart was steady. She wasn't the same weak woman anymore. Alina had returned, and this time, she had 3 secrets the world was not ready for. Asterisk, the city hadn't changed much, but Alina had. 10 years ago, she left as a broken woman. Now she walked with quiet confidence, every step strong and graceful. Her long brown hair danced in the wind, and her sharp eyes held stories no one knew. Beside her, 3 little children ran and laughed, 2 boys and a girl. The twins, Ethan and Eli, were playful and curious. Their sister, Emma, was calm and smart beyond her age. They were her world, her reason to survive when the nights were long and painful. Alina owned a small but growing fashion brand. After years of struggle, she had built her own company, Evelyn Designs. Hard work had turned her pain into purpose. Her designs were simple, elegant, and strong, just like her. One morning, her secretary rushed into the office with excitement. "Ma'am, we received a big offer. Knight Enterprises wants to partner with us for their next project." Elena froze. Her heart skipped a beat. Knight Enterprises. The same company owned by the man who destroyed her 10 years ago. She took the file with steady hands. But her eyes trembled as she read the name Alexander Knight. CEO. Her mind flashed back to that stormy night, his cold words, her tears, the pain that never really healed. "Do you want me to reject it?" the secretary asked softly. Elena took a deep breath. "No, accept it. We'll meet them next week." The secretary nodded and left, but Elena's thoughts were already far away. She looked at her children playing near the window. He doesn't know about them, and he never will, she thought firmly. The day of the meeting arrived. Elena wore a simple white dress and a black blazer. Her hair was tied neatly. She looked calm, but her heart raced inside her chest. The elevator doors opened with a soft ding. She stepped into the tall glass building of Knight Enterprises. Everything was the same: the marble floors, the smell of expensive perfume, the quiet tension of success. A young assistant guided her into a large meeting room. "Mr. Knight will join shortly, ma'am." Elena sat down, hands clasped together. The door opened, and there he was. Alexander Knight entered, confident and calm, just as she remembered. His suit was perfect, his expression unreadable. Time had added more sharpness to his face, but also a hint of tiredness in his eyes. For a few seconds, he didn't recognize her. He looked at her with polite distance, another business partner. Then his eyes narrowed. Something in her face, the way she held herself, felt familiar. "Miss Elena," he said slowly, reading her name on the file. "Have we met before?" Her heart thudded, but she kept her voice steady. "Maybe in another life, Mr. Knight?" He studied her, intrigued. "You look familiar." "Faces are easy to forget," she replied softly. "Memories are not." The meeting began, and Elena spoke with confidence, showing her designs, explaining her ideas. Alexander listened, his usual arrogance fading slightly. There was something in her calmness that disturbed him, a strange sense of déjà vu. When the meeting ended, he extended his hand. "Impressive work. I'll see you again soon." Elena shook his hand, cold skin against cold skin, and left quickly. Her heart raced, but she didn't look back. That evening, she went to pick up her children from school. The twins ran to her, laughing. "Mommy, a man helped us cross the road today. He looked like the man from your photo." Elena froze. "What photo?" "The one on your desk. The one you always hide." Before she could answer, she saw a black car parked nearby. Inside, Alexander watched from a distance. The boys. They looked like him. The same sharp eyes, the same smile. His heart skipped a beat. He didn't know why, but something inside whispered their mine. He clenched his jaw. "Impossible," he muttered. She disappeared 10 years ago. But that night, he couldn't sleep. The image of those boys wouldn't leave his mind. Their eyes were calling out the truth he didn't want to face. And for the first time in 10 years, Alexander Knight felt afraid. Alexander Knight had faced hundreds of challenges, business rivals, lawsuits, betrayals, but nothing had ever shaken him like that moment outside the school. Those boys, the way they smiled, the way they laughed, the way one of them turned his head exactly like him. He told himself it was just coincidence. But deep down, something in his chest twisted. That night, as rain tapped on his office window, Alexander stared at the photo on his desk, a memory of his wedding day. Elena's smile shone brightly in it. He hadn't looked at that picture in years. Yet now, it pulled him back like gravity. He whispered under his breath, "Elena, where did you go?" He opened his laptop and searched for information about Evelyn Designs. Her company was registered 8 years ago, 2 years after she vanished. There were no records before that. No address, no hospital files, no photos. It was as if she had erased her entire past. He leaned back in his chair, rubbing his forehead. "Who are you really, Elena?" The next day, Alexander called his private investigator. Mason, find everything about the woman who owns Evelyn Designs, he ordered. Family, address, children, everything. Mason nodded. Understood, sir. A few hours later, the first report arrived. Alexander's hands trembled as he opened it. Name, Alina Grace Knight. Status, legally married. No record of divorce. Children, 3. No father's name listed. His heart stopped. She had never divorced him. For the first time in 10 years, Alexander felt something strange, guilt. It crept into his chest like a ghost. Couldn't chase away. He drove to the hospital mentioned in the report, the place where she gave birth. The nurse on duty looked at him with surprise. Yes, I remember her, she said kindly. She was in terrible pain, but she refused any help from family. She left the same night with 3 babies. Brave woman. Alexander walked out in silence. His world spun. 3 babies. That means... He sat in his car for a long time, staring at the steering wheel. The rain blurred the world outside. He whispered, almost afraid of his own words, "They're mine." Meanwhile, Alina was busy preparing for the second meeting with Knight Enterprises. She didn't know Alexander had started digging into her past. Her kids were excited. "Mom, will that man be there again?" asked Ethan. "Maybe," she said with a small smile. "He looked nice," added Eli. "But he stared at us too much." "He just thought you were cute," she said softly, hiding her fear. That night, she sat on her bed, staring at an old photo of Alexander. "You don't deserve to know them," she whispered. "You threw me away." Her phone buzzed, an unknown number. She picked it up. "Alina Grace Knight," a deep voice said. Her breath caught. "Alexander, we need to talk." The next day, they met in a quiet restaurant. The air between them was heavy. He looked at her, eyes cold, but searching. "You disappeared for 10 years, he said. "Then suddenly, you return with children." "My investigator found something interesting." Lena's fingers tightened around her glass. "You had no right to dig into my life. You had no right to hide my children," he snapped back. The glass slipped from her hand and shattered on the floor. People turned to look, but she didn't care. "Your children?" she whispered. "You think after what you did, you deserve to call them yours?" His face paled. "What do you mean?" She stood up, her voice calm but sharp like a blade. "You threw me out when I needed you most. You believed lies. You didn't even check the truth." Alexander froze. "What truth?" Elena's eyes filled with tears. Not weak ones, but of anger and memory. "Ask your mother," she said. "Ask what she did to me. Ask why she gave you a fake report." Then she turned and walked away. Alexander sat still, his heart pounding. Fake report? Lies? Could it be possible? He clenched his fists, his mind burning with confusion and regret. And for the first time in his life, the powerful CEO realized he might have destroyed the only person who ever truly loved him. Asterisk. The night felt heavier than usual. Alexander sat alone in his office, her words echoing in his head. "Ask your mother. Ask what she did to me." He couldn't breathe properly. His hands trembled, his chest burned. For 10 years, he had hated Alina for being barren. But what if it had all been a lie? What if he had destroyed his own happiness because of someone else's trick? He grabbed his car keys and drove straight to the Knight mansion. Rain poured again, just like that night 10 years ago. Madam Knight was sitting in the living room, sipping tea when he entered. Her smile faded when she saw his expression. "Alexander, what's wrong?" "You look pale." He threw a folder onto the table. "You lied to me," he said, his voice shaking with anger. She frowned. "What nonsense are you talking about?" "Alina told me about the report." "The doctor." "Tell me the truth, Mother." Madam Knight's eyes hardened. "That woman is manipulating you again. She was never good enough for you." Alexander slammed his fist on the table. The sound made her flinch. "Enough. Did you fake her medical report?" Silence. The only sound was the rain outside. Madam Knight looked away. "I did it for you," she said finally. "That woman could never give you the legacy you needed. I paid the doctor to confirm her infertility so you could move on." Alexander felt the world collapse around him. Move on? He whispered. You ruined her life. You ruined our life? His mother stood up, voice rising. I did what was best for our family. She was poor, weak, and useless. You deserved better. He stared at her, disbelief turning into disgust. No, Mother. I deserved the truth. Without another word, he walked out. The rain drenched him, but he didn't care. His mind replayed every memory, Elena's tears, her begging, her pain, all those years. She was innocent. The next morning, Alexander drove to Elena's house. He waited outside until she came out with her kids. When she saw him, her face turned cold. What are you doing here? She asked. I know the truth now, he said quietly. My mother faked everything. You were never Barren. I wronged you. Her eyes filled with tears, but she quickly looked away. It's too late, Alexander. You can't erase 10 years of pain with one sorry. He took a step closer. I don't expect forgiveness. But please, let me know the children. They are mine too. Her heart clenched. The twins were watching from behind her, whispering to each other. She turned back to him and said, They don't need a man who once threw away their mother like trash. He lowered his gaze. Then let me prove I'm not that man anymore. Elena shook her head and walked away. But her steps slowed. A part of her wanted to believe him. Days passed. Alexander sent gifts for the children, books, toys, art sets, but Elena returned everything. Still, he didn't stop trying. One afternoon, tragedy struck. Elena got a call from the school. Her daughter Emma had collapsed. She rushed to the hospital, her heart racing. The doctor said quietly, she needs a blood transfusion immediately. But her blood type is extremely rare. Elena froze. None of the boys matched. Neither did she. The doctor continued, We checked the donor list. There's only one match in the city, Alexander Knight. Her breath caught. Destiny was playing its cruel game again. Minutes later, Alexander arrived, breathless and worried. I'll do it, he said without hesitation. As he donated blood, tears filled Elena's eyes. Watching him lying there, pale but calm, memories flooded back the man she once loved, the man she once hated. After the transfusion, Emma opened her eyes and smiled weakly. Mom, that man looks like us. Lena couldn't reply. Her throat was tight. Alexander turned his head and whispered softly, I'm sorry, Elena, for everything. I'll never stop trying to fix what I broke. She looked at him, and for the first time in 10 years, she didn't see the cold CEO. She saw the man she had fallen in love with. But forgiveness would take more than just words. The hospital smelled of antiseptic and fear. Machines beeped softly in the background. Little Emma lay on the bed, her tiny hand wrapped around Elena's fingers. The transfusion had saved her, but she was still weak. Alexander stood by the window, his arm bandaged after donating blood. He hadn't slept in 2 nights. His face looked tired, but there was peace in his eyes, the peace of finally doing something right. Elena looked at him quietly. He didn't speak much, but his presence felt different now, softer, humble, almost broken. You should rest, she said, her voice low. I'll rest when she's safe, he replied. The doctor entered with a smile. Your daughter is stable now. She's strong, just like her mother. Elena nodded with tears in her eyes. But Alexander's gaze softened. She's strong like both her parents, he whispered. For the first time, Elena didn't argue. In the days that followed, Alexander visited the hospital every morning. He brought breakfast for the kids, told stories, and stayed late at night until Emma fell asleep. Ethan and Eli started to like him. They didn't know the full truth yet, only that this man made their mom smile, even if just a little. One morning, Ethan climbed onto Alexander's lap and said, Uncle Alex, can you teach me how to drive a big car like yours? Alexander laughed softly. One day, maybe. But you'll have to promise to follow all the rules. Deal? The boy said proudly, shaking his hand. Elena watched from the doorway. The sight warmed her heart, but also scared her. What if he breaks us again? She thought. What if he leaves? Her heart wanted to forgive, but her scars whispered caution. When Emma finally returned home, Alexander began visiting their house often. He fixed things, cooked meals, and even helped the boys with school projects. He wasn't the proud CEO anymore. He was just a father trying to make up for lost time. One evening, as they ate dinner together, Emma asked innocently, "Mom, why does Uncle Alex look like Eli and Ethan?" Silence filled the room. Alina froze. Alexander's heart skipped a beat. Eli spoke up quickly. "Yeah, even our teacher said that. She thought he was our dad." Alina tried to change the topic, but Alexander finally said softly, "Because I am." Gah. The children stared in shock. "You're our dad," Ethan whispered. Alexander nodded, eyes full of guilt. "Yes, and I'm so sorry I wasn't here before." Eli frowned. "Why didn't you come?" He swallowed hard. "Because I made a terrible mistake. I believed lies and hurt your mother. But if you let me, I want to be part of your life now." The room was silent for a moment. Then Emma smiled and reached out her small hand. "You already are, Daddy." Tears rolled down Alexander's face, something no one had ever seen before. Alina looked away, pretending to tidy the table, but her heart was trembling. The next morning, their quiet happiness shattered. A headline flashed across every news screen. "Billionaire CEO has secret family, hidden wife, and triplets discovered." Paparazzi swarmed outside the house. Cameras clicked. Reporters shouted questions. Alina grabbed the children, her face pale. "Who told them?" Alexander clenched his jaw. "Someone from the hospital must have leaked it." The media storm grew wild. Some called Alina a gold digger. Others accused her of lying for attention. Alexander shielded her and the kids from the chaos. He faced the cameras, his voice firm. "They are my family. If anyone has something to say it to me, not them." His mother, Madam Knight, appeared on TV too, furious. "This woman ruined our name." She shouted to reporters, but Alexander ignored her. For the first time, he stood between Alina and the world. That night, as they sat in the dark living room, Alina whispered, "You didn't have to do that. The media will destroy your reputation." He smiled faintly. "I've already lost everything once, Alina. I won't lose you again." Her heart ached at his words. The walls around her heart began to crack slowly, painfully. For years, she had raised their children alone. Now, for the first time, she felt like she wasn't alone anymore. But she knew life wouldn't let them rest just yet. A new choice waited for her. One that could change everything again, to be continued. Closing parenthesis asterisk days turned into weeks. But peace never truly returned. The media's noise slowly faded, yet its shadow lingered. Everywhere they went, whispers followed them. The secret wife, the hidden children, the fallen CEO. Inside the mansion, Alexander tried to bring back normal life. He worked from home, cooked breakfast with the kids, and even helped Emma braid her hair before school. But Alina still kept her distance. She couldn't forget the rain-soaked night he'd thrown her away. One morning, she sat on the balcony watching the sunrise. The children's laughter echoed from inside. Alexander walked over quietly, holding 2 cups of coffee. "You're up early," he said gently. She nodded without looking at him. "Couldn't sleep." Sat beside her, setting a cup in front of her. "I know you're still angry," he said softly. "You have every right to be. But I meant what I said. I'll spend the rest of my life proving I've changed." Alina stared at the rising sun. "And what if I can't forgive you?" He smiled sadly. "Then I'll keep trying anyway." Something in his voice broke her guard for a moment. But she turned away before he could see the tear in her eye. A week later, an international company offered Alina a dream deal, a new branch for Evelyn. Designs in Paris. It was everything she'd once wanted. Freedom, success, and a fresh start. Her heart twisted. It meant leaving the city. And Alexander? That night, she sat in her studio, surrounded by sketches. The children were asleep. The rain outside sounded like memories knocking on the window. Alexander entered quietly. "I heard about the offer," he said. "Congratulations." Lena looked up. "It's a big opportunity. The kids would love it there." He swallowed hard. And what about me? She looked down, tracing her fingers over a sketch. You'll be fine, Alexander. You always are. They stepped closer. No, Alina, not without you. His voice cracked, raw and honest. I've spent years building everything, money, success, power, but none of it matters anymore. The house feels empty without you. It always did.
Ow.
Tears shimmered in her eyes. You hurt me once. I can't risk it again. He nodded slowly. Then let me walk beside you this time. Not ahead of you, not behind you, beside you. Before she could answer, Ethan ran into the room, holding his tablet. Mom, Dad, look. The news says you both started working together again. Alina blinked, confused. On the screen was an article showing their partnership announcement, Evelyn Designs and Knight Enterprises merging. Alexander had done it quietly, using his influence to protect her brand from the media storm. Why would you do this? She asked softly. He smiled. Because this time, I want to be the reason you rise, not the reason you fall. The next day, Alina stood at the airport with the children. Her ticket to Paris trembled in her hand. The loudspeaker announced the final boarding call. She looked back one last time and saw him. Alexander stood there in the rain, just like that night 10 years ago. But this time, he wasn't cold. He wasn't proud. He was broken and real. He walked toward her, soaked to the bone, and dropped to his knees. I lost you once, Alina. I can't lose you again. Tears rolled down her cheeks. Why now, Alexander? Why after all these years? Because I finally learned that love isn't about bloodlines or heirs, he whispered. It's about holding on even when it's hard. The children ran to him, hugging him tight. Dad, come with us, Emma cried, or we all stay here together. Ethan added. Alina looked at their faces, their hope, her joy, and finally her heart gave in. She threw the ticket away and stepped into his arms. For the first time in 10 years, she felt peace. Alexander held her close, his voice trembling. Thank you for giving me another chance. She smiled through tears. This time, don't waste it. The mansion lights glowed warm that night. Laughter filled every corner, the sound of a family made whole again. And as the rain stopped, the narrator's voice echoed softly. Sometimes life gives a second chance not to change the past, but to heal it. Because love, when it returns, is stronger than before.